My friend, we're still goodbye.
It's not even winter yet.
Well, I'm over all the rain, so.
It's not even the winters.
I'm over all the rain, so I don't care.
This is what's in the box. Zach
What's
and Cheryl.
in the box?
What's in the fucking box?
What's in the fucking box?
That was fun. Yeah. So it's been a while.
Been
But
a while.
We're doing the podcast thingies. So how you doing? How's your day? What's going on? How's it going?
It's good.
It's good. It's good.
It's a day like the others.
So, what you been doing? You haven't done a podcast in like
Been working.
forever.
What have you been doing?
Same. Yeah.
But I have 2 jobs.
Yeah, you do.
I'm just kidding. They're both part-time.
Which equals one.
One full-time job. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You still have one part-time job.
I'm still only working, 4 hours a day? So no, it doesn't equal a full-time job.
So
my 2 part-time jobs equal 1 part-time job.
Yeah, kill it. So, how do you like your jobs?
I like both my jobs.
Yeah.
I like them a lot.
I
am a crossing guard for the Kakana city, not the school. I work for the city, but I do work at the school.
Technically, she works for the sheriff's department.
I do.
So she's a deputy.
Yeah, when my daughter got in trouble the other night with a cop, I had to inform him that I actually work for the same department as him. That was cool.
We work in the same department.
Don't worry,
cool?
Because all my information is already in your system. And he had a good laugh about that.
Well, at least he had a laugh about it, I guess.
No, she didn't get in trouble. She just was somewhere she shouldn't have been, where other people did get in trouble. But anyhow. And my other job is Amazon. I work flex hours at Amazon, which means I pick my hours. And it's kind of nice.
I was going to say, which is sort of convenient.
Yes.
Because you can be like,
And for those of you who know Amazon and have worked for Amazon, because I have friends from Nevada who watch the podcast, it's not the same. There
are people that watch the podcast?
I don't know. But
I like to think that there are.
The one we worked at in Nevada was an FC center. This is a DC center. So we do the end of it. We
selling a lot of flags.
Sort all the packages before they get sent straight to your house. So I only get packages that are for the Green Bay, Appleton area. Like I think the furthest one is like Oshkosh or Menasha. Or whatever. Menasha. I think is the furthest I've seen on the... Oh, I've seen New Berlin. I don't know how far that is from here.
Roughly about the same as Oshkosh.
Yeah. So...
That's kind of cool, though. I didn't know. Well, I guess I really didn't ask because I really didn't care. Because I didn't know that.
How far we went?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like...
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
We don't go as far as Milwaukee, that's for I'm sure. I'm sure Milwaukee has it.
And you still haven't seen any packages from people that you know?
No, I did. Remember? Just when I asked your dad about it, he said, no, that's not mine.
Oh.
There was a package for John Hine.
Oh.
But
it wasn't...
It wasn't your John Hine.
That John Hine?
Yeah, so there's another John Hine in the Green Bay area.
That's weird because it's...
Also, there was a package for a Michaela, but it didn't have a last name. So I didn't know if it was...
That Michaela?
Yeah.
But, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah.
But no, I don't spend all my time staring at the names of packages.
I would.
Well, when you're doing the jobs I'm normally doing, you don't have time to stare at names of packages. But when I'm sorting, like when I'm just pushing the packages across the line, you really don't have anything else to do other than stare at the names of the packages. So,
but yeah, when I was growing up, I had hauled it's a whole thing, which took me a long time to actually look up. Because for the most part, I didn't care. And then the amount of people that were asking me, I was like, is this like a thing? There's a whole family
of Heinz.
Heim with an M.
Nope, this was a Hein.
Spelled the same. Heim. And my entire childhood, they would be like, "Oh, is that?
Are you part of this family?"
Because there's really not like even normal people. There's really no distinction between Hein and Heim. Like unless you're like Heim, like emphasize it. When you just say it, people don't hear it.
Yeah.
All through my childhood. Oh, do you know this person? No.
Emma.
Do you know? No.
Emma has said that people ask her about Reinhardt because of the meat packing company.
Yeah. But
it's not spelled the same.
But yeah, I had to like my entire childhood, and I actually went to high school because it's like a big thing around. Like it's a big family name around here. It's on.
Oh, I just couldn't see your light was reflecting on your shirt, and then it wasn't reflecting, so I didn't know.
Anyway, but it's like they're like a whole family, and I like went to school with them, which was even more confusing because one of my friends' best friends. So like we hung out intermediately, like all through high school. Last name was Chaim, and actually coincidentally, the person who he was really cool. He reminded me a lot of Cobb, but the person who used to play bass at my church, who was really cool. He just had like that outside thinking of religion that I like people that are like, yeah, I believe this, but like all this stuff here, like I'm not sure that like and he was like,
he doesn't put himself in the box of
and he was like 7 feet tall, but his
deformity.
But his last name was Haim too. It's kind of cool. But then but what was super funny about that is like all through like middle school, high school, because I lived in a small town or whatever, heard it all the time. But then when I got out of high school and like went into the world, not one, except for like a couple years ago at Psalms, there was somebody that got hired, but they weren't there for that long. Yeah, it's weird. Also, though, somebody that my ex-girlfriend went to college with when she was at college, which is like I think it's close to La Crosse, which is like 3.5 hours away from here. Somebody asked her that too, because they found out like my last name or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, are they related to this person?" And I'm like, "No." She even called me. She's like, "Do you know this? Like, do you know this person?" I'm like, strange. I can literally tell you right now, anybody in Wisconsin is not related to me. Well, now they are, but like,
I was gonna say no,
but like
that's not true.
But like at the time, that was what I said to her. I was like, I can guarantee you, nobody in Wisconsin I'm related to, none whatsoever. Because like for the most part, my family kind of like stayed in Iowa.
Yeah, but you never know. Just like I got that message from that one girl about my cousin.
Yeah. That's weird.
And it was like, yeah.
So,
like, oh, okay.
Because it's been so long.
Been a while.
Yeah, because it's been so long. What exciting things have you done? What exciting things have we done? We done. You done?
We did.
We did. We done did.
We done did.
What exciting things did we done did?
We did done. Did done.
Or is nothing exciting for you?
No. No, we went and saw Iceland Kills.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. That was cool.
Was that fun for you?
That was cool.
Did you enjoy that?
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was exciting about that?
Well, other than being stuck underneath the armpit of two ginormously huge men. No, that was, I don't know, that was pretty cool. I was excited for that, and it turned out as good as I expected it to be. It was a different room of the rave that we hadn't been in before. Well, I hadn't been in before. I don't know about you, but every time I've ever been to the rave, I've been in the ballroom, the main ballroom. So, yeah, yeah, every artist we've gone and seen is performed in the main ballroom. I didn't even check to see where this one was going to be in, but we ended up in like the the second floor or something. It was below the main ballroom.
Yeah,
because
the only thing that's underneath that is the pool.
No, there's the main ballroom. There's the one we were in, and then there's a smaller one underneath before the pool, isn't there?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I think there's one on the main floor before you get down to the basement where the pool is. I don't know. Either way, I've never been to any other room but the main ballroom, and this was a smaller room. It was interesting, though.
I think it was cooler. Maybe in the smaller one.
Yeah, it was more...
I don't know. I liked it more being in the...
What's the word I'm looking for?
Intimate.
Yes, it was more intimate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with their kind of production level, it would have been better in the ballroom, just because you could see everything that way.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, even though it was intimate, it was like the stage is so much lower than in the ballroom, where like I couldn't see half of the production value of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was still cool. It was still a lot of fun.
So, what is Ice Nine Kills for people that don't know?
Oh, yeah. That's right. Not everybody's gonna know that.
Yeah, because they'll just be like, "Yeah, they saw a band."
Cool. Ice Nine Kills is a band that, well, the album we went and saw that they were singing is every song is about a horror film, like a slasher. But they do have albums about other stuff too. They have an album based off of books, I think, and then they have the two albums that they were doing the double feature for were both slasher film albums. But so that's pretty cool. I'm into that. So
because I'm into that.
That's like a thing. So. It did inspire me though to finally watch The Evil Dead because I'd never seen that one.
Yeah.
And I know the whole like story and background and I get the gist of it. I just never actually like physically watched it. But watching him up there act out as Ash, I was like, yeah, you know what, maybe I should watch it. And then I did, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for its time. Just, you know.
I just think that was
kind of just what I expected is all.
Well, that was part of the fun, and I think it was even more, I mean, to the point of like, we already knew most of the songs before we went there, but I think it was kind of fun, like originally when the album was first dropped. Yeah, when me and you went through it and was like,
and trying to like figure out which
because for the most
album, like what like movie the album or the song.
Because for the most part they don't name. I mean, there are a couple, but they don't name the songs
in the title.
Like in the title.
Yeah.
So like even there's one.
Are you talking about Rainy Day?
Yeah, Rainy Day for sure.
Yeah.
Rainy Day took me a while to figure out.
The only reason Rainy Day did take me a while is because my dad's obsessed.
Yeah. Well, there were things in Rainy Day that I was like, oh, that, like the run when like, run. Yeah, like that's from
Resident Evil.
That's from like all of them. Like
for me, it was just
and there was just parts of it that I was like, oh, I know where that's from. And then
for me, it was just the red and white line, and I was like, oh, this is Resident Evil.
But anyway, there's like Hip to Be Square is one of them that like if you don't know the movie,
if you've never seen the movie or know nothing about it, you're not.
You're just gonna be like, oh, that's cool. Which also I think to the credit of Ice Nine Kills, I think is a really cool idea because you'll have people that like will like the song for the song, but then like people that know like horror movies and know what the song's about are gonna like.
Well, and you'll also have people like me that are like, oh, maybe I should watch that movie.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
And I've seen every other horror film they're singing about. Maybe I should watch this one.
But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I think Ice Nine Kills is really cool, and I'm really glad that we got to like, actually go see them
for sure.
Especially, and it would have been cooler. Well, also it was cool, just personally for me. I don't know if it was cool for you, but it was personally cool for me.
No, not at all.
No, not.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
I know
it wasn't.
But the fact that Barb and Arden were there,
that was cool,
and getting to see.
I was not expecting that.
Getting to see. And
I mean, it made sense, but.
And I know it's because like I'm older, and like I have kids,
mm-hmm.
but like getting to see like Ice Nine Kills with her, and like getting to see like her not only like it, but like get the references and like be excited about like that was cool for me.
Yeah,
because I was like, it's not just it's not just a me thing.
And
like
how they got excited when
they did the Wall of Death.
Yeah, that was cool.
I don't know, just little things like that made it kind of cool for me.
Yeah,
because it was kind of like oh, okay, this is like other generations like this. Like it isn't like
yeah. Well, and I think I don't know. I think that kind of excites me in that way too. Is that like it's such a newer band that like it's gonna be the younger generations that are listening to their music, and then they're gonna be interested in the movies, like in seeing these movies. And I think that's cool for me because like, I'm a horror fanatic, so like. If I can get anyone to watch a horror film, I'm like stoked.
Well, it's kind
speaking of, so I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I was talking about I don't remember what I was watching. I was watching another horror film, but I was telling my mom about it or whatever. And I was like, "It's not too bad though." And she's like, "But I don't like horror films." I was like, "I know, but this one isn't that bad." And then my stepdad in the background goes, "Well, I don't know if I trust your opinion anymore after Tusk."
That was probably.
I was like, "Oh shit, you watched it?"
That's probably one of my favorite things personally that I've ever done.
I've probably ruined like the ability to tell my mom and my stepdad about any movie at all anymore at this point, because like I made them watch 2 pretty terrible movies in a row, and that was Tusk and Midsummer.
Yeah.
Like,
ooh, that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm probably on like the mix of like.
You could have even thrown like A Nightmare on Elm Street in between those, and it probably would have like washed.
Yeah, my mom's seen those.
I know, but I'm saying like it probably would have washed the palate in between the two.
I should just tell him Terrifier. This is the last one I ever.
No, because your mom would call you. Your mom wouldn't even make it. Your mom would make to the scene with the woman and be like, "What the fuck, Cheryl?"
Scene with the woman, nothing. That's the end of the movie. She wouldn't even make it past the diner scene where she would be like,
ooh,
"I don't know what this is, and I'm not finishing it.
I don't like it. I'm not doing it.
Is this Clouds from Outer Space? I don't like this."
That's also good movie. No, but that's one of my favorite things I've ever done, and it's really funny to me that you passed it on. Like I told you that when you passed it on.
No, for sure. I am if you torture me with a film that I absolutely hate, I will pass it on to someone I love.
It's so funny because like I didn't even think about it. I watched it and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because like it's a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah.
And so even that alone, I just watched it because it was a Kevin Smith movie, and then I remember watching it and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and I wasn't even gonna say anything about it. I was just gonna let it go as like a movie that I've seen and like whatever.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned it. You're like, oh yeah, you watched that. How was it? And I was like, I gotta watch it now.
And then really fucking good.
And then I ended up like falling asleep while you were watching it, and I remember it because I fell asleep, and I remember you waking me up, being like, "What the fuck, Zach? What the fuck was that?" And I was like, "Yeah,
like okay." Top 3 worst endings of horror films.
Yeah.
For sure. Tusk is one of the top 3 for me.
I like that your concern wasn't what happened to him. It was the fact
that they left him there.
It's the fact that nobody did anything.
Like, fix him.
Yeah, but then you gotta pay for therapy, rewire.
Who cares? That's worse than leaving him in a fucking walrus body at a zoo? What the fuck? What kind of fucking twisted ass zoo? Who's feeding him? It looked abandoned.
They're just throwing fish every once in a while.
Great. I'm just saying. My 3, just so we're all aware, my top 3 worst horror film endings for me personally, and this is out of order. This is just the three I can't stand.
In no number of importance.
Is The Mist, Hostel, and
House of Wax.
Tusk. No,
House of Wax isn't on there.
The ending's fine. It's the running.
It's the movie. It's the movie itself.
It's mid-movie.
It's the movie itself that bothers
the ending
me.
Of that's fine. Mid-movie is the problem. Running upstairs in a burning house of wax makes no fucking sense. Just to rip your way through the wall, you could have done that downstairs. What the fuck was that? It made no sense. But they made up for it by putting a pole through Paris Hilton's head, so...
Yeah, which is one of people's top horror movie moments.
Yeah.
Because it was Paris Hilton.
It's probably up there on one of the most, like, rewatched
scenes?
Parts of a film, yeah. Like, rewatched scene.
So, that was our anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to Iceland Kills was our anniversary.
Yeah.
We spent the weekend in a hotel.
Yeah, we did.
Hanging out. Being cool guys.
Being cool kids. So, I bring that up because I was going to ask you, and I know that your answer is always the same. Which is nice, which is I'm not saying it needs to change, it's a good answer. But, like, I appreciate, and I told you this that weekend, and I tell you this a lot, but I appreciate that after all this time of us being together that you still like hanging out with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not just I like
that you still like hanging out with me.
Well, it's not just like I said this to you that weekend. I hear so many people like, I want to get away from my spouse, or like, I need time by myself.
I need a fishing trip so I can get away from the wife.
Yeah, like stuff like that, which I'm not saying like you shouldn't have time to yourself. Or
like the comment you got, which was, she didn't want to do it? You mean you mean a wife didn't want to take any opportunity to hurt her husband?
Yeah, that too.
No.
Like things like no. Like things like that. Like I hear which I understand is like a social thing. Yeah. Like it's like socially, even in movies, like you're told like you shouldn't want to hang out. But like I appreciate the fact that after almost 10 years of us being together, that like you still like doing things with me. It isn't like well, yeah, that's fun. Like even like I know that Iceland Kills is something like we share. Yeah. Like horror movies and like concerts and shit. And concerts have been our thing always anyway.
Forever, yeah.
But I just like that it's not like yeah, I guess I'll go.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds
like, oh, okay, another concert.
Like I have a hotel for us to spend the weekend. Okay, I guess
all right.
Like I was planning on doing this, but that's cool.
I guess like, I'll pack my shit.
Yeah, but even like little stuff, like that's part of the reason why I took the video, one, because it was funny, but like us just sitting eating Dairy Queen and watching Bob's Burgers, like
yeah,
the fact that even those things, like you still enjoy, like sitting there having fun.
Yeah, because you're my best friend.
Yeah, it's just, and I tell
my best friend.
I know I've said this. I know I've said this to other people. It's one of my favorite things that I hear from guys specifically is when they get married and I ask all of them, I'm like, how's marriage going? And there have been a couple that have been like, but yeah, but for the most part, it's like nothing's changed. Same thing. And like,
Nothing should have changed.
Well, yeah, and I like that. Like I've said this, and not to talk about something else, but not to keep going about how much I love you and how cool you are. But
no, go ahead.
But I've always said this, like I feel like I got real lucky because I know people that are in relationships and marriages that like for whatever reason, whether they didn't marry the right person, whether that person changed, whether whatever, that they're not genuinely happy in their marriage. And I got real lucky because I did marry my best friend, like 100%. Like 100%. Like I've told so many people this. It's not even like I say that like as a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
Like when things happen, like you're the first person I want to tell. Like when normal things happen that you would tell like your guy friends. Like I want to tell you. Like it's not like I don't know. It's different. Like it's literally like if you had a best friend, you would tell them everything.
Yeah.
And I use this as my example.
Yeah, when you have someone who's like, you can't tell anyone, you still go to your best friend and be like,
okay, hey. You can't tell anyone. Yeah. Or like even something as simple as like and I've heard other people say this, but I've used this as my example. Like if you're at the mall with like a guy friend or at the bar or whatever, and there's a hot chick that walks by, you're gonna say something about it. Like you're gonna be like, dude, look things like yeah. And I do that to you like all the time and vice versa. Yep. And it's things like that like I got real lucky because I don't have to do the whole, well, don't tell my wife, or what if my wife finds out, or like we don't talk about what happened. Like I don't have to do all that.
No.
Like there's even been things that like, well, not really, but there's some things that could have gone that way. That could have been like you be pissed off at me or whatever. But like I still want to tell you. Like it's not like I don't know. It's like a why wouldn't I sort of mindset.
Yeah.
And I really like people that like have gotten married that have said the same thing. Like it's just us hanging out. Like
yeah.
Like that's
just
a cool.
Me and my best friend.
Yeah, like that's a cool thing for me. That it's not because I think, although I understand that it was a generational thing, I think the whole mindset of like putting down your spouse is just it's tired to me.
Well, like I told you, like I know that it's the boomer joke to hate your wife.
Yeah.
But I think it's come so far back around now that it's our generation's like
the wife
joke is the wife hates the husband.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
can't relate, bro.
It's more it's more sad now than anything actually, because it's like you realize you don't have to hate them, right? Like you can just leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that sounds easier said than done, and it is easier said than done. I've been through it. I know it's easier said than done, but it is possible and you can do it. And if you honestly feel that way and you feel those jokes are funny and valuable, don't stop. Like that's not necessary. You don't need to live like that. You don't need to be in that situation.
Well, and it's so like I don't know. I think people take,
and that goes both ways for the guy and the girl. Like if you feel that way, why are you there? Like this isn't the 1950s. We're not biblically
bound to
our fucking spouse anymore. Like, and plus half the people who are fucking complaining aren't even married.
Yeah.
Half the people who are complaining about their fucking significant other are just
dating.
Boyfriend and girlfriend. It's like, what are you even doing? Why are you? And then the next thing you know, they're married. You're like, you fucking hate each other. Why would you do that?
Which I don't know. I think I get it. I don't, because I don't do it. But like people hate talking to me about things because I've never, like, not really. I've never like put down my wife ever, and it's not because like I don't want her to find out. It's just to get back to the same point. My wife's cool. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like I tell people that all the time when they complain about their wives, or even like girls complaining about their husbands. I'm like, sorry. Like I can't. I wouldn't because it would suck. But I would love to have something to relate to you with. Like I would love to be like, yeah. My wife like really, but I don't. Like I'm sorry.
That's the thing. It's not that.
But also we. Not only did we get lucky in the beginning, but we've worked at it to make it that way, though. Like, we've had hard conversations. We've had, like, I'm not okay with this. You're not okay with this. Like, what happened? What do we do if the situation happens?
Yeah. Like, what is that gonna? What is the conversation gonna look like
if this happens?
If this goes that way, or if we head down that road?
Which I'm not saying like you should.
It's not like we're pre-planning the future. It's
that's what
just
I'm saying.
Like,
I'm not saying you should doomsday your relationship.
If something like that were to happen, what does that look like for you, and what does that look like for me?
But like
it's like a heads up. It's like a hey, just so you know, if you do this, like that's gonna be a problem for me.
Yeah.
and this is what the outcome probably will be. And I can't promise that's what it's going to be. I can't promise I'm not going to be like more okay with it at that time or less okay with it at that time. I'm just saying the probability of me being like this about it is pretty fucking high. Like,
but it's an exhausting response, and I know, and that's kind of what I was getting at. I feel like it's not an honest thing. It's just something that men specifically, but as you said, it's kind of turning more towards women too. Men specifically have been put into their head from such a young age that they should, or that they can't be content. Like they need something to complain about their wives. Like even if you have like the greatest relationship ever, like you as a man need something to like be sitting around drinking beers with your friends and complain about.
But yeah, doesn't it suck when she does this?
Yeah, and like
it fucking sucks, man.
Like I don't know, I'm not gonna lie to fit in. I don't. So like, even in times like that, I'm like,
I don't know. I think it's time and place because I've complained about you. It's not like I haven't. It's not like I haven't been sitting around with friends. I just mean like oh man, it sucks when they do this. And I'm like, yeah, no, it fucking sucks.
No, I just mean like the put down part of it.
Yeah. No, like I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think it depends on like time and place too. Like, because it's like, I mean, especially when we had our dog, like, that was a big problem for me because it's like you wanted him, you know, and then there was so much that I was having to take on since we got him, and it was like, fuck, like I don't want to be the one who has to constantly do this shit. And like, so I've complained to people, but it was like who I complained to was situational. Like I didn't just complain to anybody who would fucking listen. Like I complained to people that I knew I could trust with the information. And I complained in a way that didn't like put you down as a person. It was just like, yeah, he thought he was going to be able to do this and he hasn't lived up to it. And it's fallen on me and now I'm stressed about it. Like, and it's not a conversation that I never had with you either. So it's not like you're just being talked behind your back without knowing anything that's happening. And I think that's a big difference about how people talk about their spouses versus like how we like release that information to other people. Like it's not because we're not sitting here saying that we don't complain about each other. That happens. People are gonna complain about each other.
Well, I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy in a way to kind of get it out.
To have someone to talk to other than your spouse. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Side note. Then you can continue. But side note to that, I've said this for a really long time, is that's the benefit that me and you have, is that we talked about that very, very early on. Yeah. That having other people doesn't mean
that we're betraying you some way. Yeah. That like we can't talk to you because we have someone else we talk to. Yeah. Like you need other people for different things. Like you growing up, you have a mom and a dad. You don't have one or the other. Well, I'm just saying, like typically in the
privileged, lucky people have a mom.
Yeah, not me. I'm just saying, like the whole point of that is that you have aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpas. You have a community around you to rely on. You're not relying on one singular person to take on all your bullshit. Like,
well, I think that's unfair.
And I don't think it should change as an adult either. I don't think just because you're an adult now means the one person you decided to be in your life forever should have to take on everything you fucking deal with.
Well, that's why me and you have talked about that, is that we've talked about this. I personally, and I know that you share it too, but I think that's unfair. I think it's unfair to put all your emotional
on one person.
Weight on one person.
Yeah.
And I think there's a gray area that people step over when they go the other way. Because me and you talked about the fact that putting all... Okay. Dude, he was rocking out to Metallica the other day. I don't know what switched. That's crazy. Anyway, sorry. But we talked about this before, that even the love thing, like not even just like getting like venting or anything, but like to put all your not emotional weight as far as love goes. That sounds
baggage.
Weird. But no, like everything that you need, like the amount of love you need, the amount of affirmation you need, the amount of attention, like to put all of that on one person to fulfill all of that 100% is unfair. Like it's okay to have someone where you get a different kind of love from, like another person that you get a different kind of affirmation from, another, like, you know what I mean?
Well, also
like
you
the
have
same
to...
the same way that like when women get pregnant and they have a baby, they put all of the love that they need, that they want,
Mm-hmm.
they put it all on that baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that baby can't give them like the full amount of love that they are looking for, that's when that's where postpartum comes in, and where most like mental, well, not
no,
all, but like that's where like a lot of like the mental stuff comes in, is that like you're putting all of your, I wouldn't say worth, but like what you need to feel fulfilled on one person. And I feel like it's okay to have other people. Like we talked about that early on, that like having other people to talk to about certain situations, or where you get affirmation from in a different
even
way.
just getting that love language from that other person. Like,
yeah,
I'm not saying that you should be getting love from another person.
That's what I'm saying.
Not
like
what
that's the
I'm
great.
just saying, like,
that's the gray area that's some people.
I'm just saying, like, if okay, let's say your top 2 love languages are physical touch and words of affirmation. But let's say your spouse is great at the physical touch, but they're not that great of words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this outside source that you get this words of affirmation from. Like, see that as a blessing, not as a, why can't my wife do this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, see that as like, it's a good thing I have these 2.
In the other way around.
Things, like
vice versa. If you're getting that or I'm getting that, the other person in that relationship not seeing that as a bad thing.
Yeah, you know yeah. I mean? Like, why are you upset that they're
like,
getting what they need from someone if you're not willing to give it?
Yeah, like why are you enjoying that you're getting it from this person and not me? Okay, well, this just isn't a thing that you do.
Yeah,
and they do,
and it's
again, that's a conversation with your significant other, and that's a gray area that a lot of people step over because they confuse the two.
Don't be confused, because you also have to be careful on who you're getting your love from. Yes. And their intentions behind it as well, because you could be setting yourself up for a situation, because humans are animals and we do have animalistic behaviors. And so if you put yourself in a situation, you could fall victim to that situation. I'm not saying it makes you a bad person necessarily. I'm not saying it makes you a good person or that it's okay. I'm just saying that you have to be careful of what situations you're putting yourself in as well. Because I've fallen victim to...
And at least be aware.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of what people don't get, is that they're like, well, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to think that way.
Yeah.
But they don't think about like how that comes off.
How it's affecting the other person or the spouse in the situation or whatever. Like, yeah, just because like you're like, oh, well, I don't feel that way about that person doesn't mean that person doesn't feel that way about you, and isn't pushing that on to your spouse as well. Or like visibly like making that known to your spouse, which is of course going to cause insecurities. Like, whether you're interested or not, it's going to cause insecurities, because like, ew, back off. Like, what are you doing? Like, gross.
Yeah.
But that falls, I think, I know I'm probably going to get flack for this, but I think that falls on the spouse. I think if you're inviting that kind of attention, then me being upset about that attention falls on you. Like,
well, like even scenario wise, like let's say that like between the two of us, well, I'll go with you. Let's say between the two of us, like I'm not able to like make you feel pretty, for example. But like there are people like at work, or I don't know, wherever else you go that's not work or here. but there are people that make you feel like pretty, to where like whether or not I'm not making the effort, or just like my words aren't meaning what it is. But like, let's say we've talked about it, which we have, and like I don't care if somebody like calls you hot or hits on you or whatever, if that like makes you feel a certain way. But let's say that happens, and then you just being nice, you're like, oh, thanks, and like whatever, and they think that like something, like the other person, not me, Like they think that like you're hitting on them and like it's moving towards another thing.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden like they either make a move or say something and I get upset about that part of it. Like I've already said that like I don't care about this part of it. And like not you, which you wouldn't because we've had this conversation, but you being an unknowing person on how people work are also like taken aback by like this of like, well, I was just saying thanks and like stuff like that. Like that, all of the parties involved not being aware is what causes issues. Because now like you're like, well, it's not what I meant, like with that person. Now I'm upset because of that situation that went past what we had talked about or comfortability. And so I think like to your point, like you have to be aware of like
but that's what I'm saying. I think it depends on what you're inviting in. Like at a certain point you realize like there's no way you just go willy-nilly completely unaware. Like you can say what you want, but you knew there was girls that liked you and that were
not in that way, but not to that capacity, I should say. Yes, in that way, but not.
And you played with it.
Yeah.
Like you let it, you know what I mean? You let it continue.
Because going back to my point about the things that you missed though, but because of that, because I was lacking, I went over that line. That's why I was saying like there's a gray area. Is because I was lacking something and I was getting it from these other people.
Yeah.
And it went
but that's past, what I'm saying.
And it went past like just needing affirmation. It went to like, well, that's okay because like I'm not doing anything.
No, and I get that, and I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
I've completely done the same thing in past relationships. Like was getting something from someone else outside of the relationship that I wasn't getting inside the relationship, and I let it get to a point where it got too far. And it was like, oh, and once you're in that, it's hard to back out now. It's hard to be like, because you don't want to stop getting that what you're.
But you also acknowledge that it can't.
But you're also like, this is
not
getting dangerous and getting weird. Like this is getting like not good. This is going to cause problems for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
And like that's what I'm saying though. You need to be self-aware and you need to know like okay, and you need to make sure that the people around you that you're getting this from also know like if you have to friend zone someone, fucking friend zone them. Like let them know like right off the bat. If they don't like that, then fuck, okay, on to the next. Like you'll find someone to fill that void if there is a void.
Especially something as simple as like getting affirmation from people or like feel like
or just needing someone to vent to, or just needing someone to just stand there while you clean dishes. Like you'll find someone who's willing to do that without it crossing that line.
Well, like even something. Never mind. I was gonna say. I'm gonna word this different, but even something as simple as like physical touch, and I know that like is
that one's a difficult one.
That one's a difficult one if you're not aware of yourself and you're not aware of other people.
Yeah, and if the people around you aren't aware of your intentions.
Because, like, obviously me and you have talked about that. Like, that's a big part of me. And, like, we have friends that, like, not that I don't, I'll put it in a simple way. I love laying with you. And, like, you holding me and whatever. But I've also done that with a few of our friends. And, like, it's not that I'm not getting it from you. It's
just how you show them love as well.
Yeah.
Because that is your love language. So you're showing them that you love them as well.
But
just because you love someone doesn't mean you love them the way you love your wife.
Yeah, I shouldn't say in the same way, but it's the levels of it. Like, I won't touch you if I don't like you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I won't give you like a real hug if like I don't like you. I won't say even guy friends I have. I won't say I love you because I do to a lot of my. I won't say I love you if I don't. Like I've always been that way specifically, but with like
we're both like that. Because both of us have the love language of physical touch. So we're both like that with the people around us. And like, we're not, people confuse physical touch people as huggers. We're not huggers. Because like you said, if I don't know you or don't like you, do not touch me. Because it's like the opposite at that point. It's like, no, whoa. I don't know you. You don't get to hug me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving that part of me
even
to
it's
you.
weird when you, even if it's weird when you are around people that you like do have that physical touch with, and then they're friends and they try to like like they try to
like
be
you,
like, oh, we're hugging, so like we get a like it's a group thing,
like it's a group thing, and you see like your best friend at the group thing, and you're like, oh my god, I fucking love you, and then their friend is like, oh yeah, I love you, and I'm like, oh
no,
yay,
not you,
cool,
not you. But anyway, that's what I was gonna say. Like, and I've always said everything goes back, and I tell people this all the time when they talk about you and me specifically, and like, well, you and Cheryl have the perfect relationship and whatever.
It's not perfect. It's built.
It's all about communication. Like even in that example that I was giving, like for me, it's I don't know how to articulate this in a way that's going to make sense to people, but for me, especially with like other female friends that we have, it's a level of love. You know what I mean? Like me laying on you, you holding me, and like putting your hand on my head and us watching TV, like that's a level of love. And so like me like laying on one of our friends or like putting my head on their shoulder or like even hugging, that's a level of love. And it's not that I want to do anything. It's not a sexual form of love. It's the level of love I have for you is here.
Yeah.
It's not exceeding.
Well, not everything physical has to be sexual. Like,
well, yeah, but that's what I was getting at.
I think being someone who has the love language of physical touch, it's more understanding.
It helps
when you're with someone. Like if your love language is physical touch, you are way more understanding about people who have physical touch as a love language than if their love language isn't physical touch, but they're being physical with someone. Because I've been in a relationship with someone who doesn't have the love language of physical touch.
And just all of a sudden it's a thing.
But they are touching other people, and you're like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
You won't even. Well, I think
you won't even sit on the same couch as me.
Well, that's what I've said.
But you're hanging on this person. Like, what is that?
Well, I said this isn't okay. Well, this is a sexual example
because then you know it's sexual. You know what I mean? Because you know they don't. You know their love language isn't physical touch, so you know that in that situation it is purely sexual. And you're like, what the fuck?
I had this conversation with somebody, and this is a sexual example, but to the same point of. If you go from having sex like 3-4 times a week, overachievers, 3-4 times a week,
exhausted,
and then you, so much water.
That's so much work.
And then I
don't even work at my day job that
much. Anyway, and then like your significant other has a friend, and you're okay with that, and then that starts going down, like. You know what I mean? Like those are signs of like, oh, okay, you won't, and then spending time with them. It goes to the point of
which that may not even be the case, but it's going to feel that way to your partner, and you need to be self-aware of those things.
Yeah, but it even goes to the point of, and this is where the psychology of a relation, and again, it all comes back to communication because, like you said, that could not be the issue.
Well,
but the psychology of it is the same with like masturbation too. Like if you're like having sex with your significant other like 3-4 times a week, and then it goes down to once, but you're doing that every day.
But you know they're masturbating
every day. Like that's a that's a problem. Like there's a disconnect.
It's gonna cause.
There's a disconnect somewhere, even if there's not another person or another thing.
But I think especially in the situation in which you're discussing, like the mindset in which you're in, as far as that form of the conversation. I think it's deeper than just communication at that point.
I agree.
I think it's more of self. You don't fucking care about anyone else. Like you may think you care about other people, but really you're number one. And that's not how a relationship works. You're not number one in this fucking house. I'm not number one in this fucking house.
Well, and I think
we are one.
I think that
like
a lot of people,
I think that's where a lot of relationships fuck up. Is they're like, well, I'm not getting what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting what I need. Okay, but what is your partner getting?
I know I've said this to you many times. My dad said it to me at our wedding. My grandpa said it to him. But it's one of the things I think of, and it could be taken a certain way. It could be taken to the other extreme. But I always think about it in relationships, just because it was a good mindset that I heard from my grandpa. Is that he used to say all the time that in a relationship, in a marriage specifically, you're going to think that you're the only one trying, when in reality it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me, because so many people are focused on what I'm not getting.
Yeah.
Or what I am, or
what I'm trying to achieve, and
that
it's not happening because they're not doing it.
That they're not thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about how it's going to affect the other person,
or what they're going through, or why they've backed out. And I'm not saying that it's your fault. I'm just saying there's two sides to every. Well, there's three sides to every story. There's mine, there's yours, and there's the truth. Mm-hmm. But it's getting to that truth. That's the thing that people need to understand. It's not seeing their side. It's not knowing your side. Mm-hmm. It's getting to the truth. It's both of you getting to the middle of it, and
or
being
finding
like,
a middle. Or finding a middle ground. Yeah, or finding a middle ground. Like if if
I'm not getting what I need from you, does that mean you're not getting something mm-hmm. also? Like, what can I do to get what I need? What do you need?
Well, like even finding a middle ground in a relationship, and like I'm going to use this as an example, and I have another one. So if you don't want me to use this one, we can change it to another example. But like even like your trauma when it comes to like being intimate, mm-hmm. like we found a common ground in that, mm-hmm. and that was a conversation that both of us had. That was a conversation of like, I'll do what I can to help. I'll do what I can to figure it out. But like in the meantime, like,
but I need you to also work on it.
Yeah, and I need you to understand. I need you to understand where I come from and where you come from. And it was a conversation.
And why this is hard for me also.
Yeah, and we found a common ground of like, okay, well, I'm okay with like if you do this because I get it, because like
yeah. And that's the way it should be. I shouldn't just come into a relationship with my trauma and be like, you have to deal with this because it's trauma.
Or from the other,
what I mean? Like, I should be able to compromise with you on it. I should be able to be like, yes, it's trauma and I've had to deal with mm-hmm. it. I need you to also kind of deal with it, but mm-hmm. let's figure out a way to work on it together. Let's find a way that we can both be happy in the situation, mm-hmm. that will work out for both of us, that we can continue to grow.
But it's not, and I know this is going to sound like it, but I'm not saying it should be all the guy's job in the relationship. But I think to a good portion it should, because it's unfair, especially when it comes to and I'm not a woman, so I do not know fully. But I'm going to say this right now. Men are dumb and they have no idea intimacy-wise what women have gone through, do go through, or anything. We are so simplistic, and I've said this, when it comes to like sex and intimacy, we are so simplistic. Even what turns us on, what doesn't. Like,
well, then it's such a vulnerable thing in the first place.
For women, and I think, but not for men.
And I think for men, they're so wired for it to be just
not this a thing.
Primitive thing.
The disconnect of like
completely disconnected for them on mm-hmm. how, like, how
vulnerable
mm-hmm. it is for us, like
to where like I've said this, and again, me being in this relationship, I guess kind of opens my eyes more so than most men. But I feel like it is, if you're in a relationship with somebody like that, it is mostly on the man to deal with it in that relationship, and not so much not so much your mental health about it.
Yeah, but
as far as like not being an asshole. But as far as like not being an asshole about it is what I'm saying. Like you
shouldn't be an asshole no matter what's happening.
Okay, but that's
either person.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. It's the difference in wiring though. And that's what I'm saying, that it's not on purpose, but you as a guy in a relationship need to take some responsibility that yes, you are going to have to like let it go. You are going to have to understand. You are going to have conversations about sex that you don't want to have because you don't care. Yeah. And it's not like that you don't care about the
about that person.
It's that you're not wired that way. Like men are very simplistic, and that's what I was saying. Men are very simplistic in that way of like most men think of sex as just like a physical act of sex. But women, it's a lot. It's not just, it's like 25% about the physical act of sex. It's mental, it's physical, it's everything, every single time that happens. So and it starts all over. So if you have somebody that has trauma in intimacy, it could be 3 months of you being a nice guy, being like, no, it's fine, no, it's not a big deal, whatever. That one time that you're like, I wish you would really fuck me, that would be really nice, starts the whole process over.
Oh yeah, you totally like just completely.
And so like, yes, that's on the woman in the relationship too, to communicate and be like, I understand that like you're going through this, and I understand that like this, but also as the guy in the relationship, like you have to understand too that that's a thing. It's not just a, well, why can't you get over it? It's not just a, well, I didn't do that. It's not.
Yeah, I'm not the reason you're like this, so why should I have to be
better? It's you have to really understand that like this is a process. It's the same as having children. They're not going to get the rules every time.
But you're also, if that's the way you feel about it, of, well, I didn't cause this, so why do I have to deal with it? Why are you in the relationship then?
Yeah,
why are you with that person?
That's also why I feel like you should be completely upfront about your trauma when you get in relationships. Yeah, and I'm not saying like trauma dump on on like the first date, but like especially 100%, especially if you're getting married, I think that you should at least have a conversation of like, hey, these are the things that happen to me. These are the things that are going on. This is what I struggle with. Yeah, like especially 100% before you get married. Because that's stuff that, yeah, and I've said this to guys.
Well, and you gotta decide as a person yourself if that's something you can do that, you can deal with and overcome. Yeah. Or if that's something that's just not going to happen for you. It doesn't matter the amount of love you have for that person. If it's not something that you're going to be able to deal with or be able to understand in that person, it's unfair of you to make that person have to deal with it. Yep. For you. Like, it's unfair of you to be like, well, you're just going to have to change that because I love you too much to leave you. Like, what?
It's even if you don't say something, even if you don't say that, but like even.
But that's the mindset, though.
I know. I'm saying like, even mentally, it doesn't have to be said. Even mentally, if you're in the relationship just waiting for that to change, is unfair.
Well, we've said a couple times on this podcast, and just in general, that expectations are a relationship killer in general.
But I posted this because it's a point that me and you have talked about for a long time, but I feel like people really don't understand, and I feel is more damaging to a relationship because people selfishly think about it from the other way, is that your significant other is going to change. It's going to happen. Everybody changes. Change
is going to happen.
Everybody changes. Everybody grows. So it happens more often with people that get married young.
Oh yeah.
But especially
the big changes for sure.
But especially even
the big personality changes are going to happen when you get together young.
But even something as simple as like your early 20s or early 30s, like you have so much life that you're going to change. Mm-hmm. You're going to adapt. You're going to change. That like people using the excuse of why their marriage or relationship is falling apart or why they don't connect anymore of, well, they've just changed, bothers me because in what way? Like if they go, like there are changes, yes. And I'm not saying you should be in a relationship because you're like, well, everybody changes, so I guess this is what I'm going to deal with. If it's something that you can't deal with, that you weren't expecting, or that you weren't prepared for, fine. Well, I'm not saying that.
And that's where I was going to say, I think it's unfair to make the person stay in the relationship when you've changed so dramatically as well.
But like if it's something as simple as like they used to like football, now they like hockey, or like, you know what I mean? Or like, that
would depend on how the relationship was built. Was the relationship built completely on both of your love for, like, if me and you just one day one of us was like, I fucking hate concerts, I never want to go to them again, That would be kind of devastating for the other fucking person. I think that's going
to be you before that's going to be me.
No.
Because you're going to not want to stand for fucking 4 hours.
We don't have to be together at the concert. I can be at the fucking balcony.
I'll put you in VIP
yeah, I can be
there.
up at the balcony while you're down on the pit. That's fine.
I know him! Get it!
No, but I'm just saying, I guess it depends on how the relationship was built, though. Because, like...
But even something as simple as in understanding the changes is more my point. My example was going to be like when we got together, and me and you have talked about this numerous times, but when me and you first got together, I said, I'll do laundry, I'll do dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time, I was only doing laundry and dishes for myself.
Because at the time, he was naive and didn't know what it meant to do dishes and laundry for children.
To have no, specifically to have a family in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, I got no problem. And I did. I kept up with my own shit.
Because I was honest from the bat and was like, I don't fucking do laundry. I don't do dishes. I fucking
But I still got a ring.
Let me tell you, I got this ring.
I don't clean. Now, you're pretty honest about how you got that. Pretty honest. A lot of people.
I'll cook sometimes. I just don't cook all the time. And the dishes have to be clean before I cook.
Anyway, but like even something as simple as that, as like, oh, well, they said they were going to do this. Or even if they did do it in the beginning of the relationship, being like, well, now they don't do that.
Yeah.
Even understanding like that, like we've talked about that, like even understanding of like, oh, well, he was naive and didn't know what that.
I also understood
didn't know what that meant.
Mr. Bachelor was naive and didn't understand.
Didn't want to do 50 dishes every single day.
100 pounds of laundry a week. Yeah.
But also to the same credit though, like you understanding that aspect of it, and then me understanding of like, okay, even though we've talked about it, like I can still make an effort to like try to do it.
Yeah.
Which is like what I've been trying to do is like at least try to get some of it, like with the dishes, at least try to get some of it done on the days that I have off. Like at least as like an effort, even if I don't, because there are times where like I've wanted to and I've only done like a couple plates, and I'm like
just the silverware.
I'm like fucking done. But like even like the effort of that, like not just putting it and going back to your point about only thinking of self, like not being like, well, she already knows that I don't do this, so
yeah,
I don't see what the big deal is. But anyway. Fuck, but like people changing over time, that always bothers me because like, yeah, people are gonna change. Like to be transparent, when we got together, I was my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, and especially like me, I don't think it's all that different from people in their early 20s, but especially me going from like not having like my high school years either. Because I was in a relationship that I never cheated, I never did anything. Like I never like me partying stopped before like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like especially like getting involved in church and shit, like I didn't do anything. I totally converted myself to being a Christian person. So like I didn't listen, for the most part. I didn't listen to any like normal music. I didn't like go out and party. I rarely drank. Like stuff like that, like things that you get out of your system, like
in your early 20s.
In your early 20s, I never did, and like you knew that, and so like there have been periods in the 10 years we've been together that have like gone different. Like I've had like sections of like I'm into this right now, or like I'm figuring out that this is the stuff I like, or like trial and error that you do in high school to try to figure out your personality. I'm doing
who
now.
You are, yeah.
And you could, as a person, a significant other, you could look at that and be like, well, they've changed since I met them. Well, yeah. And that's always my thing is that like, yeah, you're going to grow, you're going to change. And I've said that to you, that's where I feel like a lot of guys specifically, when they get to the midlife crisis stage, that's why they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Is because they haven't had I shouldn't say ability, but they haven't been let to kind of figure out who they are, what they like, what they want. They got in a marriage. This is how I am in the marriage, and this is how I'm going to stay until either they die or like whatever. But even parent wise, like you're different as a parent than 100%. I know you are. You're different as a parent than you are without kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe now not so much. Like if the kids were gone, like moved out, I don't think it would be that dramatically different than
at
who
least
you
not
are
at
now.
first.
But like even that, like you have to realize when you're in a relationship or in a marriage specifically with kids, that's going to change too.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be different. When all the kids are out of the house, you're not that you're not a parent anymore, but you're not.
But at the same time, shouldn't you kind of expect your spouse to be a little... I think that's the one expectation out of a spouse that should be there, is that you kind of should expect your spouse to change a little when you have kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't... Like, in a spouse, I wouldn't expect my partying husband to continue partying like a fucking animal when we have kids. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's fair, though. I think that's the one time... I think children is the one time where expecting your partner to change is totally rational and completely...
And if they can't, that should be the time.
Well, that should be a conversation. Like, what is going on? We have kids.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it should... And not that you can't have fun, either.
No, you can totally still have fun.
Me and you have done that.
But you still have to be responsible.
You have to be more tactful. And that's what I've said to people. Yeah. Is that it's not that you can't be yourself. It's not that you can't have parts of your personality that you still like about yourself or your spouse still likes about yourself. It's that you have to be more strategic. Sounds like a bad word.
Tactful, you know what's funny?
Tactful is better. But you have to be more tactful about how you do it. Like, I like going out.
Yeah.
I like having fun. I like getting drunk. I've said this to people. There's probably going to be a time where that's not going to be the case, and my body's going to take over, and I'm not going to be able to do that. But until that time comes, I like doing it.
Yeah.
But also, I can't do it every weekend.
Yeah.
I can't do it all the time. I have kids. I have responsibilities.
And the funny thing is,
twice a year, where that's what I do.
Yeah. I think the funny thing is I think it's actually worse now that I have teenagers.
Yeah.
I think I personally feel like I have to be a more responsible adult now with teenagers than I ever did with younger kids. Like, I feel like, one, they're watching me so much more. Like, if I'm getting drunk and high every weekend with my kids around, they're just going to expect that that's okay and that it's norm. Like, because they're teenagers. They're doing the same thing. Yep. And, like, also, like, the other night, if I was drunk that night, I wouldn't have been able to go get them. I wouldn't have been able to go pick them up. Like, could you imagine how that would have gone down? Like, I would have ended up in jail because I drove and drank.
Well, it would have been even more
to come get them. Like,
well, it would have been even more so. And to Emma's credit, I will say that it was actually nice that it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But looking at it from an outside point of view now, knowing everything that happened, if she was at that party and she really wasn't drinking or doing anything and was sleeping and whatever, which everybody at the party said she was, and you came drunk, like that would have been more traumatic for her in a way of like, well, why the fuck does it matter what I do?
Well, not just traumatic for her either, but also...
If I can hold my shit together at a house party with all my friends doing this, my mom can't even hold her shit together at home. Yeah. Like, why does it matter what I do? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
And I get it that it's unfair that you shouldn't be able to drink when you're at home by yourself, but also, my kids were not home. Like, they weren't... Like, I didn't know she was at a house party. It was supposed to be a birthday party. That was a sleepover.
That's how all birthday parties are.
But also, everyone who originally was there has said, too, that it was supposed to just be a birthday party, that it
turned into
a house party, and none of them were expecting it. But who knows? They're teenagers. They say a lot of things. So, I mean, for all you know, it could have been a pre-planned house party. But
this was actually part of what I was going to talk to you about in the first place. And you can gloss over this if you want. We'll talk about it another time. But the older that I've gotten, the more I've had, and there are things that are different, but the more I've gotten older, the more, with Emma specifically, I've gotten more and more relaxed on things because I get it.
Yeah.
Like, when they're growing up, you want to instill things in them, so you get upset at things, like trivial things, you know what I mean? Like them yelling, or like them not listening to you when you tell them to put the dishes away, or like small things.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter because you want them to because
you want them to understand the
parent,
severity of their actions, and that they have to listen to their parents. They have to, there's things that they have to do. You instill these things in them because you want them to be functional adults, not because you want to control them. Like, I don't force my kids to do chores because I want them to clean the house because I don't want to do it. I force them to do chores because I want them to grow up and
knowing the responsibility,
be a responsible adult in their own home, and they don't
and
end
not
up with
date
a
people
home
because they don't want to do dishes.
Yeah. And don't end up living in a home that looks like the home that they grew up in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a clean human being. Like, I am borderline disgusting. Like, well, I say borderline because I'm not. I was
gonna say I've been in some houses. It's not,
I'm not a
nearly
CPS case.
It's not nearly as bad as houses that I've been to.
I'm not a CPS case. There are things that I'm very like stern about that I'm like, no, we can't let it get to that point. But
like rippable toilet paper.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna pause to tell you our adult splurge that we made, which really wasn't because it was the same price.
It's the same price. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said, why not?
So Cheryl has said that she's not going to compromise on toilet paper.
Never.
She doesn't matter if we're homeless in a box. We will have Charmin.
It doesn't have to be Charmin. Just has to be nice.
The thick, soft toilet paper.
Yep.
So I was making fun of her when we went to the grocery store.
It can't be fucking one ply or like the 2-ply you find at work
to get toilet paper. And she's like, "You want to get this one?" And it's the
Ripple Tear. The Charmin has the new Ripple Tear where it's all like wavy.
She's like, "You want to try that?" I was fucking bougie.
And at first he was like, "No," and I was like, "But it's the same price for the same amount of toilet paper. Why not?" He's like, "You really want to try it?" I was like, "Yeah, why not?" I don't understand why not.
Easy rippable.
And then he's even asked me since then. He's like, "So how's your rippable toilet paper?" I was like, "Well, I don't get a half of a piece. I get full 3 pieces every time I pull it off."
Anyway, but it's something with Emma specifically that I did it with work a long time ago, and I never really thought about until this last year. I never really thought about doing it with Emma specifically. Is that like 15 minutes?
I was just checking.
But I got a tattoo a long time ago to remind myself, to ground myself in where I came from at work. To always remember, like, I'm not better than any of these people. I started here. Yeah. And I got it in the same way this last year.
Any of these people could be the same.
At any time, even me, I could go back to doing
what you did.
This. Which just helped me in work, but I never really thought about it as far as being a parent until this last year with Emma specifically. Because I was so focused on, like, disciplining her and, like, you're not going to do this and, like, whatever. That this last year, I really, really started being, like, I was the same way.
Yeah.
When I was younger. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I was younger, I didn't give a fuck about chores.
Also, every kid is different.
And not to, if this sounds bad, it's not to make it sound bad, but, like, I didn't think about long term. I didn't think about consequences. I didn't think about, it was very simple. It was my friends, it was what I wanted to do, and it was not getting in trouble. That was it. That was all I was focused on. I wasn't focused on getting a job. I wasn't focused on chores. I wasn't focused on if I was going to get yelled at by my parents. It was literally that. And so there are times, even now as an adult, and I think that that's where it clicked in my head, is that me and you had a conversation at the beginning of the year about my birthday. And we were talking about it, and I was telling you how it's really disheartening to me, and I get it, but it's really disheartening to me, all the friends I have that are past like that, going out and having fun and whatever, and they're like, I just want to stay home and watch TV and whatever. And it's really disheartening for me because I'm not over that.
Yeah.
That's still fun to me. Mainly because I didn't get to do that when I was younger, for the most part, when I was younger, but like that's still fun to me. And it was in that conversation that it clicked in my head of like, if I'm still wanting to do this at 30,
yeah,
how unfair is it
for me to not expect my daughter to want to do this?
Yeah, for me to ask my 15-year-old daughter, like, you have to grow up. Like, it's not fair. And then since then, it's been a lot easier for me with Emma. Like, yes, I've still gotten like upset, but like,
and she still gets punished. She still has consequences for her actions. But it's also conversations instead of just screaming.
Well, yeah, like
it's conversations of, how did that go? How do you feel now today? Mm-hmm. Was that a good idea? Like, do you think that really worked out for you?
Yeah, and like me and you, like this aside, I'm gonna give an example that happened yesterday, which is why I wanted to bring this up. But like, even something as simple as like her calling you for the party, or like previous times when she's called you, like, it doesn't have to be one. If your child is at a party and they call you to pick them up, nothing you say to them, they're hearing. Well, so it doesn't matter how much screaming and how much telling them that they're a bad person and whatever you do. They're not listening to what you're saying, so it doesn't matter.
Also, you're betraying the trust.
Exactly.
Your child just showed trust in you to be able to call you to come pick them up.
And not as a last resort.
As the first resort. Yep. I was the first phone call 3 times now.
And I think that is more important than the
degrading.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily, but yes, but I wasn't going to go with degrading, but of the fear, I guess, of being their parent.
Yeah.
Of like, I can't call them because I'm going to get in trouble because I'm going to cry. Yeah. I think the fact that they know, and Emma's even said it, the fact that she knows that she's going to get in trouble in some way, but still knows that she can call and it'll be done,
because it's different.
Is more so, I think, a good thing than trying to find all these people to come get her, or try to get an Uber, or try to do this,
calling or other people's parents, or putting herself in a situation where the cops have to deal with her instead.
To avoid calling us, just for the thought of like, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah,
like I think that's trash.
Yeah,
to be honest, I think it's better. It shows, in my opinion, and I know that this is our life, so obviously I'm going to be partial to like.
Well, and also but, I get it, because there is a point in which you are just enabling. Yeah, I get that, but we're not just enabling. She does have consequences for her actions,
and she knows.
We're not just picking her up and being like, okay, don't do it again.
But it's like, the initial. It's and me and you have talked about this. It's the initialness of the situation. It's that, yes, she's going to have a punishment.
Yeah.
But there's no need to do it right then. Like, yeah. I'm not saying...
We could talk about it later.
Like, I'm not saying, like, don't give her shit, or, like...
Oh,
well, if you did...
I mean, I can't help myself.
I know that's what I'm saying, but the whole, like, you're grounded, you're going to do this, you're never going to leave the house, all of that, like, it's unneeded. One, like I just said, in the moment, not listening to you. So it doesn't matter. That's all for you. That is all for you. That has nothing to do... She's not hearing it. But, like, even then... You're putting it in their head that it's a situation.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just talk shit and it's like,
well, even when her boyfriend was like, when she was like, yeah, they were calling me names, and I was like, oh, what was the police calling you? And the boyfriend was like, big mouth, and I was like, because you are a fucking big mouth.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And I was like, even when I was there, Emma, you couldn't shut the fuck up. I had to tell you to go back to the truck. Like, because you kept just wanting to explain your side of things. They didn't care. They didn't care your side of things, Emma. And she goes, well, I thought they wanted to know. I was like, did they ask?
But like, even...
She's like, well, no. Okay, then they don't fucking care.
Even something as simple, and I was thinking about this, but like I said, the whole thing with Emma, that's me changing my perspective of that has helped with Emma, because it's allowed me to really kind of understand that it's not a defiance.
Yeah.
That's who you are. That's the time frame. Like,
well,
okay.
I know parents are going to disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Parents parent differently. That's fine.
Fuck off.
But I would rather her get this shit out now.
Well, that's what
than be in her fucking 20s getting arrested because she's at house parties with underage people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Luckily, I had the responsibility of having kids when we got together, like having your kids, because I feel like that's where it would have gone for me because I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So I got to get that out in a very
controlled manner,
controlled and healthy way.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, but that was only.
But not at first. When you first went out on your own and you got out of your situation, you were pissed drunk every night, doing whatever the fuck you wanted for like a whole month before you came back.
But that's what I'm saying. But I had the responsibility of the girls to ground me in that. Whereas if I didn't, it would have kept going. It probably would have gone worse.
But also at the same time, that's also a mindset because there's so many parents out there, like actual parents, not step parents. I'm not saying you're an actual. That sounded bad. Step parents are actual parents. I'm just saying there are people who like physically have children and still act out. Like you know what I mean? They still act like. And so it is a mindset too, though. It is a mindset of knowing that you're responsible for another fucking human being in their life and having to withhold your own responsibility for that. And like I'm not saying I'm perfect. I fucking had Emma when I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. Like I definitely have made mistakes. Like I was definitely in situations that were probably not responsible or probably shouldn't have had a kid in.
That's why you're an old lady now.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like I also wasn't. It wasn't more like I know I have made people disappointed in me, but also at the same time,
but not as disappointed as I've been in myself.
Well, not as disappointing as I could have been either. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I did have to hold a level of responsibility, and it was a mindset. It wasn't that it was a choice. It was, okay, you have to stop doing this shit because you're gonna fuck up your kids, or you're gonna get your kids taken away, or whatever. Like so like I tell this story to you sometimes that first year, I think Emma was like 1.5, and I was living in Reno for like a year. And that whole year, I was high all the time. Like, not all day long high, but every night after Emma would go to bed, I was high as a fucking kite. Like, high. And then there was one night in particular where Emma woke up and was crying in her crib, and I was so high I couldn't function. Like, I couldn't move. I couldn't get up. I couldn't go get her. And then the cops came to the door. And that was it for me. I was like, this cannot go any further. I cannot get high anymore. I cannot be this parent. I have to be, and that's a mindset. I could have chose to continue doing that. I could have chose to continue having that same scenario happen over and over again to the point where the cops did end up having to intervene, and CPS did have to end up coming in, and my kid did end up having to get taken away. But I chose not to. I realized that I was fucking up. I realized that I was doing something that, like, at the time I thought it was okay and I was an adult and I can get high when my kid is in bed because I thought I was being responsible by doing it when she was in bed. But that moment I realized that I wasn't responsible and I wasn't functioning and I wasn't being a parent. And that's where the mindset flipped and was like, no, you have to fucking stop. And you have to just parent. You have to parent. And it was like, that's the difference between like me and you and like other parents who were parents at such a young age. Like, or even parents who start at 40 and fuck up. But I'm just saying, like, there is some grace given to young parents, of course. But at the same time, you're also so already overly judged for being a young parent that it's like, it's a double-edged sword for sure. But it's definitely a mindset. Like, you don't just give birth to a kid and your mind just poof changes. Like, it's something you choose.
But again, going back to what I was saying about like flipping my mindset as far as Emma goes, is that there's so many since I've had that realization, there's so many cool things I've got to do with her.
Yeah.
Like yesterday,
just moments.
Well, yesterday being a big one, and I said that to you later. Like her doing my tattoo, like that's a moment that like was really cool.
Yeah.
And it was really cool, like not only for like her, but like for me, but like to see like her really take it serious.
Yeah.
For her to ask my opinion while she's doing it of like, should I do this, or like, is this okay, or like things like it was a really good moment for me. Whereas if I wouldn't have had that mindset, I wouldn't have understood that that's also a thing for her, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's not just well, I can't do a tattoo upside down, so like I need somebody to do it. Like it's a my stepdad let me do this. Like
yeah, he trusted me with it.
That there's a trust there and a wanting and an understanding of like this is something that I'm interested in.
She's interested in, and we're willing to help her pursue it.
Yeah, and like those things of like looking back on like when I was her age of like if my parents would, and not that I've said this multiple times, I have great parents, but if my parents would have done that, like I would have been super ecstatic that like not only did I get to do that, but like the fact that they recognize that like that's something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And like things like that. And even, I mean, yes, I've gotten frustrated, but even like little moments of like me and her talking about certain things and like once my brain flipped to more of like a understanding of like what I was at 15
in her age, yeah,
in her age, and not just being a parent, but like understanding like what I was going through, what I needed at that time,
and not just expecting. I think that's the problem with teenagers is where that a lot of parents have is that they expect their teenagers to act like the adults that they want their kids to be, and they're not adults; they're still kids.
I was going to say
still teenagers
at 15, and I mean, me and Emma have had this conversation. Me and you have had this conversation too, but I'm going to use this as an example to your point, though. When I was 15, I was getting high every single day playing video games. No, seriously. My best friend, we would get high in her basement, play video games all day. I would go home. I wouldn't do any chores whatsoever. You could ask my parents. I never did a chore ever unless I got screamed at. And then I would go home. I would do the same thing. I would get high and watch movies all night.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I did when I was 15. So it's unfair for me, which is what me and her have kind of talked about.
We always expect our children to be better than we were.
I know, but in my perspective, it's unfair for me for somebody that, in my perspective, grew up with good parents in a good household, turned out fairly okay. It's unfair for me
to think that she's going to be a shitbag just because she...
Well, yeah, to demand better. Well, not, I shouldn't say that, but to demand her be a different person than she is on the off chance maybe that she might turn out. You know what I mean?
To be a shitbag, yeah.
Yeah, when I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's some gray area and it's different. Like if I was doing like a shit ton of heroin when I was 15, like yeah, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I did it when I was 15, so like
fine, go ahead.
But like, like there's a gray area, but also like I think in the perspective of putting yourself back to when you were that young, like it just feels unfair to me to be like, why was I allowed to do that, but you're not?
Yeah.
In any capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Anyway, that was it. It's been really nice for me to have that perspective with Emma. I think it's helped me and Emma a lot. Because even like something as simple as her throwing, like yes, it makes me upset, but even something as simple as like her throwing the fit in the car that her shoes won't go on. Like before, I mean, I used to do it with Alice all the time. Like before you scream or you yell, I would be like, stop
it.
Yeah. But like even since then, I've just let her do it because like I get it. She's just overwhelmed. Does it get excessive sometimes, like the other day?
Is it too much for you? Yeah.
Yes. Especially with like my sensitivity to sound.
I was gonna say because you also have a problem with getting overwhelmed,
Yeah.
and yours is a sensitivity to sound specifically.
Yeah, but also I've let it go most of the time too because I get it that she's also figuring out how to regulate it. She's also like trying. She's overwhelmed and trying to figure out how to do it, and that's why. And that's why I told you the other day. Yes, does it get excessive? Yes. But also there are moments in that I see that she is making the effort to try to regulate, whether it happens, whether it's efficient or not. Like the other day when she was doing that because she couldn't get her hair done, not the other day, but in the car.
Yeah.
And she was screaming and she was like hitting the dashboard and whatever. In those moments, she was still like still trying to regulate herself.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. I think like putting myself back to that, it's helped in those situations because I'm more understanding of like the situation and not just my own interpretation of the situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for talking with me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We actually got to stop talking because we went past the time that we were supposed to.
Yeah, and Emma's gonna be mad.
It was gonna be so mad.
My parents gonna be.
My daughter's gonna be so mad at me. Anyway, thanks for checking. Oh, quick thing. So whether Cheryl likes it or not, we're going to do a podcast live at some point in the nearish future.
Thought you were like putting a date on it. I was like, no,
tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. No, we are working with somebody to get a live podcast up somewhere. We're still debating on where and if we can record and all that logistical stuff. And Cheryl still needs time to prepare to talk in front of people. So we'll see how long that takes. But it is going to happen at some point. Just a heads up. We'll probably do a podcast before that telling you the date and where so you can show up. But that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm trying, I know I say this all the time and I say this every year especially, but I'm trying to regulate how many or when we do podcasts. So I'm trying to do it every other weekend. That way it's not so stressful and so demanding of like we have to do one every weekend. So it's probably I'm going to shoot for every 2 weeks, but I'm not going to guarantee because every time I say that, we end up going like a month or two without doing a podcast.
My bad. But
the plan is every 2 weeks. So it'll be every 2 weeks on Saturday or Sundays, most likely Saturdays. And then whenever we get a date for the podcast or whatever. We're also doing one with your mom pretty soon when she gets here.
Couple weeks.
So, yeah. So we'll do one with Nikki. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Beans and cornbread, beans and cornbread, beans and...
Old school. Oh, also, side note, Cheryl's going to become a banjo player.
Yeah! I'm going to learn how to play the banjo.
And she's going to be really good at it.
I don't know about that, but we're going to try.